Shalom Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai Barakatah to the brothers. Shalom Yahweh Shema Elathah B'Hashem Yahweh Shai to the sisters. Tonight is the I.S.U.P.K Biblical Law class. I am Officer 50 Kasiyad of I.S.U.P.K Atlanta. Tonight's topic is We're at War. Ahmaud Aubrey versus the Three Devils. Now, before we get started, of course, I like to give a little itinerary for the week. Monday, as you know, is our biblical history class. Tuesday is our biblical brotherhood class. Wednesday, which is tonight, is our biblical law class. Thursday is our mandatory scripture breakdown class. Friday is our Hebrew class, our original language, the Lashon Kodash. And Saturday is our High Holy Day, the Sabbath class. Before we get started, are there any questions, any topics that anyone wants to touch on before we get into our main topic? I'm sure there's something that you brothers want to talk about. And if not, then I'll bring some things up. There's so much going on, as Officer Barack Yalla was saying to me earlier, there's so much going on in the world today, so much going on in the news right now that it's a free-for-all. You can pretty much throw a rock at a topic and speak on it. As I'm sure many of you all know, that another rapper by the name of Young Dolph was gunned down in Memphis, Tennessee today. He was shot multiple times and he lost his life. It's unfortunate because it seems to be the things that is continuing to happen. It's as though these young brothers are out here playing, I'm not even going to say cops and robbers, they're just playing shoot 'em up. They have these weapons and they're just taking lives. That's it. It doesn't matter who you are or... Go ahead, Op.
I mean, that whole situation right there, like, with these guys, these rappers, Israelites, you playing in the street, you know it's coming back at some point, especially if you don't come into the truth. But, you play a dirty game, you get dirty pride. And, people are like this, so sad, and I get it, yeah, you'd be sad, but what about, isn't that Julius Jones that ain't never been in the street, but they trying to execute him, an innocent man.
Right.
Young Dolph wasn't innocent in the street. You don't know what he did.
Right.
But I just find it confusing. It's a lot.
And what you're bringing out is heavy, and I agree with you. If you look on social media, there are people who look up to this brother. Of course, him being a rapper, people like his music. But as you said, these streets aren't forgiving. When you live by the sword, you die by it. But I'm not saying that I don't know what this brother was doing, what he may or may not have been guilty of, but it would be easy to assume or to say that while he's out there in those streets doing what he was doing, he was getting to it. And then, in Memphis, those boys are up there, it's like they're trying to make a name for themselves out there in Memphis. They're getting to it. They're gunning brothers down in the street like it's a sport. And of course they're doing that everywhere. In Chicago, you name it. Detroit, it's what they're doing. And it's a lack of brotherhood. Although today is the biblical law class, that is a lack of brotherhood. These brothers are taking each other's lives because, number one, they don't know what it is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. These brothers are taking another brother's life without remorse. They're actually doing the oppressor's job for them. And it's designed that way. It's designed for them to be at odds with each other. Because it wouldn't surprise me if it was from some past beef. Because from what I understand, this brother was shot after going and buying some cookies. They didn't try to rob him. They just pulled up on him and shot. So, this world that we live in, the life that we live, it is unforgiving. The only sanctuary, the only safe haven for you is in the I.S.U.P.K. There's no other place that you can go to where you aren't going to have to worry about your life being taken. And with that situation with Young Dolph, it's easily can be segued into my topic tonight, talking about Ahmaud Aubrey, because it's another young black man who has been murdered. Now, we don't know who the men were or men who murdered young Dolph, but we do know who murdered Ahmaud Aubrey. We know that he was murdered by 3 devils, that his life was taken. And his life was taken because this brother didn't know that at the time that he was at war. You know, that's the problem in the street. Go ahead.
The water, you know, to bring a topic like you said earlier. I was watching Officer Presiding class earlier, and so how come it's so bad that we are being either drug dealers, criminals, or we try to be basketball players? And as I made, he brought out that in America, 729 billionaires, and only 7 are black, right? And you know, if we had a better economy, we would have to shoot each other and kill each other, and let's let a little fun, you know, the Bible speaks of. Sorry.
Con, you are absolutely right. The oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Every single day, all day he is. And you know, when you're talking about us, there being 7 billionaires, we can name probably 2 of them being Oprah and Michael Jordan. Of course, I don't know who the other ones are, but once they cross that line to become billionaires, you can believe that they stepped on half of Judah to do it. They stepped on their people to get there. You know, because once you get into the realm of making that type of money, what has happened is more than likely you have destroyed the lives or the homes of many people inadvertently in some way down the line. You may not have come to that person personally, but to make that type of money, a lot of times someone has been crushed in the process. For one human being to have $1 billion of anything, let you know that that's too much in the world that we live in today, when we have thousands or hundreds of thousands of Israelites who have no place to lay their head, who have no food to eat. Case in point, when we're looking at the border, when we're looking at our Levite brothers, when we're looking at our Issacharite brothers, all the brothers that are at the border, all the brothers that are here in this town that we live in right now in Atlanta, that are homeless, that are living under bridges, and you have people who make $1 billion. So let's go back to young Dolph. He was a rapper. And any picture that I saw of him today that they were flashing all over social media, it looked like he had $100,000 or $200,000 necklace on his neck. Now, of course, the whole thing that people say is how many people could have ate for the money that it cost to make that necklace that he had around his neck. Now, I'm not trying to be insensitive to this brother because, you know, may he rise again. This is an Israelite. This is one of our people. But at the same time, when you aren't in the truth, when you aren't following the laws, statutes, and commandments, you open yourself up to be attacked. You open yourself up to be killed in these streets. You have no protection. The priests and the prophets here in the I.S.U.P.K, we have angels that are protecting us. But when you're out there in the streets living amongst the heathen, doing what the heathen do, there's no protection for you. As the saying goes, basically you're living on borrowed time, as they say. So with that, as we continue to go into the topic tonight, once again, it's called We're at War, Ahmaud Aubrey versus the 3 devils. Now, the original topic or the original heading of the class is going to be Ahmaud Aubrey versus Kyle Rittenhouse. And the reason why I was going to do that comparison was to show you how much you mean nothing in the eyes of the oppressor and in America's court system, America's judicial system. We're still going to touch on that, but we're going to focus on Ahmaud Aubrey. I'm not going to look at Kyle Rittenhouse because he's definitely going to get what he's got coming, but I'm going to focus on what these devils did to Ahmaud Aubrey. I'm going to focus on the fact that we need to understand that we are at war, and we've been at war since we've been here. The problem is that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, more so, I'm going to look at blacks that don't understand that you are at war, that your oppressor does not love you, and that his goal is to destroy you. I mean, it's all throughout the scriptures. All throughout the scripture says, what is it? Paraphrasing, that they come together with crafty counsel so that the name of Israel is no more. Everything that your oppressor does is designed to destroy you. The only way that you have protection is to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. And the only way that you can truly understand how to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments is to come into the truth here in the I.S.U.P.K under commanding Junior Yahanna. Many of the things that I bring out tonight will be things that you've heard before by myself and much greater men above me, and men of the same rank as me. You've heard these same scriptures that I'm going to bring out. And what you have to understand tonight is that my goal is to drive home to you that your oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of, that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians need to come back to their culture and follow the laws, statutes, and commandments so that they can survive in this hell that we're living in. That's the only way that we're going to make it. You're going to see that as I discuss with you the way the justice system works. Because you're going to find out that our only justice is going to come from the Most High. Our only justice is going to come from following these laws, statutes, and commandments. So the class tonight, I'm going to enjoy this, and I believe that you will too, because we're going to see just how foul the court system is and how much they lie within their own court system that they set up. You're going to see that they're liars and the father of it. You're going to see that. So tonight we're going to discuss the joke that we call the American justice system. What is the justice system in the eyes of the oppressor? What is the justice system in the eyes of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians? We're going to discuss those who get away with murder and hold themselves not guilty. Now, when I say those who get away with murder and hold themselves not guilty, everyone knows that precept in the book of Zechariah 11:5. If you would, Trooper Mashallah, could you get me Zechariah 11:5, Baba Kachai? And read it when you got it, Baba Kachai. Go ahead.
Book of Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 5. For book of Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
Now, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. We're going to hone in on that particular part of this scripture tonight. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. The book of Zechariah, chapter 11, verse 5. You've heard us break this down many times, and unfortunately, the reason why we have to break it down is because it applies to the murder of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians by our oppressor. Every single week, we can come in here and break this one scripture down to you and have examples for it every single week. The beginning of the title of my class is We Are at War. We are at war because there's a nation that is against us. And that is every nation that is outside the nation of Israel, our oppressors, especially the chief oppressor, which is the white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. Understanding tonight that we are at war. We have been at war. For over 400 years, we have been at war. But what I want you to understand is that in order to survive this war, you're going to have to learn some things. You're going to have to learn to love your brother. You're going to have to learn to come together. You're going to have to learn to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. One of the things that I have learned since I've been in the I.S.U.P.K. for this very short period of time is that through the laws, statutes, and commandments, you gain understanding. You gain the wisdom. And that wisdom comes from the fear of the Lord. Once you fear the Lord and you gain that wisdom, that understanding, that knowledge, you start to see things in a way that they don't see them in the world. You start to look at the brotherhood. You start to look at your brothers that are out there in the world that aren't in this truth, and you can see all the ways that they can be destroyed. Now, every single Saturday, the brothers are out going to war, teaching, preaching to that valley of dry bones to let them know, here's what you need to do in order to survive. But you have to love one another. Loving your oppressor will do nothing but kill you. So looking at Ahmaud Aubrey, this brother was 25 years old. 25 years old. And he was murdered by 3 devils in cold blood in the middle of the street. So when I think about Zechariah 11:5, and I'll read it again myself, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. We're going to see tonight just a handful of times how many times the oppressor has murdered us and called himself not guilty. And for any of you who are watching this who have never watched this class, because all the brothers that are on the phone right now, you know what the deal is. But if you're watching this class right now on Facebook or YouTube, I want you to understand that we are the I.S.U.P.K, that we teach our brothers and sisters to follow the law, statutes, and commandments and to love their people. We teach our brothers and sisters how to survive. In the times that we're in right now, we cannot afford to not come together and follow these laws, statutes, and commandments because we're dying every single day. Our lives are being taken not only just by our own people because of the plight that we're in, but by our oppressor. And understanding this, there's one thing to have your life taken by one of your own people. That's horrible. But when your oppressor takes your life, that is an act of war. Understand that. When the oppressor takes one of our lives, that is an act of war. It burns me up to the core to think about how they did Ahmaud Aubrey. This is something that happened in 2020, in February of 2020. They've been taken to court now. And what did? They said they were not guilty. Understand that. They said they were not guilty. These men said that they were wanting to conduct, for lack of better words, citizen's arrest because of some recent break-ins that had happened. And one of the vehicles that they had, they claimed that a car had been stolen. That a gun had been stolen. Basically what they wanted to do is say that this is a justifiable homicide. Now before I go into that, is there anyone on the phone who has any comments, or is there anyone new on the phone that I need to get attendance for? Shalom, Lord in Christ. Warrior, you Tawab? I'm Tawab. Excellent. Good to hear from you. In case you didn't hear, the name of the class is We Are at War. Ahmaud Aubrey versus the 3 devils. And I'm actually going to touch on something that you and I discussed, so when you hear it, don't be bashful. I know you won't be. Be ready to speak on it. So thank you for that. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and break down a few things to you when it comes to our justice system. Within our justice system, we have something called justifiable homicide. Your oppressor likes to use this a lot. What they want to do is they want to come up with a way to justify why they murdered you and get away with it. That was set up for them. Understand, black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, that law was not set up for you. It's set up by our oppressor. We have our laws, statutes, and commandments. They have their laws as well. Now, justifiable homicide is a non-criminal homicide ruling usually committed in self-defense or in defense of another. It exists under United States law. A homicide may be considered justified if it's done to prevent a very serious crime. Listen to what I'm saying to you now, and remember as we discuss this with Ahmaud Aubrey. This says here, if it is done to prevent a very serious crime, such as rape, armed robbery, manslaughter, or murder. So when they say justifiable homicide, that means if any of those actions right there are being committed, then you are justified in either defending yourself and taking that life, or if you were someone who was in the vicinity of this crime being committed, if force has to be taken and a life is taken, if one of these crimes are committed, then it will be justified for you to take that life. Once again, it is rape, armed robbery, manslaughter, or murder. Now, if that's the case, Ahmaud Aubrey had on sneakers, a pair of shorts, and a t-shirt. No weapon. He was jogging. There was no weapon there. Now, the oppressor who chased after him in 3 pickup trucks were armed with guns, shotguns. None of those crimes that would make it justifiable for them to take his life were committed. He was jogging. Yet and still, we have to go to court for this. They have to go to court, spend taxpayer money to say something that they know already is false. They know that there was not a citizen's arrest. They know that they hunted him down and they lynched him. Modern day lynching. They shot this man multiple times dead in the street. So as I continue, you're going to understand Zechariah 11:5 tonight, I promise you. I'm going to go into, let's see here. I'm going to prove to you, number one, why the white man is in. Go ahead,
Aubrey case with the oppressor. It's the same thing as that boy that got dragged, you know what I'm saying, in Texas behind the pickup truck.
Right. I do remember that story. You see, our oppressor has been lynching us and getting away with it for as long as we can think. It's of course, as we said many times, he has a bloodlust. We are a white man's trophy. Just like how he hunts for these deer, these buck with the 10 pointers and these exotic animals, if you will, and they take them and they get them stuffed and they mount them on the wall. They haven't truly reached that zenith or that pinnacle within themselves until they've caught them a good old nigga. Until they've killed one of us, their goal or their life's mission isn't complete. But guess what? That time is going to come to an end. And by the time we get to the end of this class and I drop those last few scriptures, oh, we're going to be rejoicing in that for sure. Because this oppressor in this Babylon that we're in is going to fall, and the oppressor is going to fall with it. So I'm going to prove to you tonight that every time your oppressor shoots you in cold blood and says he's not guilty, that he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. But you don't have to take my word for it. We're going to look at the evidence that supports the facts of Zechariah 11:5. So as you hear me, I'm speaking like we're in a courtroom setting, because right now Ahmaud Aubrey's family is in court waiting for some semblance of justice from these oppressors. But we're going to look at the facts today. Since Ahmaud Aubrey's killers are on trial, basically trying to defend themselves and justify why they murdered this brother, while they are also trying to sully the name or defile the name of Ahmaud Aubrey, which touches on the class that Officer Hadar Moth spoke on last night, taught on last night, where he was speaking about a good name and speaking about what it is to have a bad name as well. What your oppressor has done is he has attached a stigma to us. And he has taught, not only has he taught his own people to give us a bad name, a byword, a stereotype, but he's also taught us to believe those things that he has attached to us. So they want to attack Ahmaud Aubrey's character and the judge allowed the defense to bring in his past transgressions into this case. See, that's them trying to justify something that this man may have done a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, who knows. They want to justify or bring it into context with what's going on, because they feel that if they can show you who he was or the things that he did, that this man was an animal, that this man was a savage, that this is the reason why they had cause to take his life. Because if he could do what he did then obviously he's doing something now. So they're trying to dirty his name. They're trying to give him a bad name when he isn't the person that's on trial. This man isn't even here to defend his own name because these devils took his life. So as we look at the facts that are presented for Zechariah 11:5, we're going to go back to the date of July 6, 2016. July 6, 2016, and I want to make sure that all you brothers on the phone are listening and everyone in the class is listening, because this is going to go hand in hand with Zechariah 11:5. We're going to prove it tonight with the scriptures. If we go back to Deuteronomy, or Salakia, the date of July 6, 2016, the killing of Philando Castile by a police officer of the Minneapolis St. Anthony Police Department. Philando Castile, this brother lost his life while he was in the car with his rib. An oppressor, or it may have even been, it could have been an Israelite who works for the oppressor. Because understand, if you work for the oppressor in his military or in his police department, you have no integrity. Matter of fact, you might be even worse than your oppressor. But anyway, this brother Philando Castile on July 6, 2016 was shot by a Minneapolis police officer. The charges were second-degree manslaughter and 2 counts of dangerous discharge of a firearm. Second-degree manslaughter and 2 counts of dangerous discharge of a firearm. Now, when it comes to taking someone's life, if I'm not mistaken, one of the lowest, I guess you could say, the degrees, because there's levels, you have first degree, second degree, third degree. You have felony murder. Then you have manslaughter. Manslaughter can be from a car accident or things like that, or something that wasn't quite done on purpose. So with that being said, we know that this police officer shot Philando Castile in his chest. And he got 2 counts of dangerous discharge of a firearm. Almost exactly a year later, on June 16th of 2017, after 5 days of deliberation, he was found not guilty. My Shala, if you could, I want you to be prepared to read Zechariah 11:5. So read that for me. Read Zechariah 11:5 one more time for me, Baba Shah. Just the top part of it and stop.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 11 and verse 5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
Stop.
And they that
you can stop right there. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty is what I want to hone in on. This man said that he was not guilty of the crime of taking the life of Philando Castile. Now, if he wasn't guilty of taking this man's life, would Philando Castile still be here? Makulat, let me ask you that question. Makulat, if the oppressor did not shoot Philando Castile, would Philando Castile still be here? I think it'd be safe to say he would. I mean, we don't know what will happen in between now and then, but we know that that police officer, had the police officer not shot him, had he not shot this man in cold blood, right there in front of his wife, and I believe his child may have been in the back seat, took this man's life, he would still be here. So if that's the case, how could he then say not guilty? Because we know that he had a firearm. We know that he fired it at Philando Castile, And we know that he succumbed to the firearm that had been shot at him, the bullets that had been shot at him. We know that he died from it. So to say not guilty would be a complete lie. It would be a complete lie. So let me ask you, Makalad, because of that, because of what happened with Philando Castile, explain to me your thought process on that. Explain to me what that did to you.
Like I said, if I could, you know, it was very heartbreaking to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt the pain as if, you know what I'm saying, like, that was, you know what I mean, I don't mean the truth, you know what I'm saying, but I felt the pain as if that was my brother, you know what I'm saying, and saying his daughter and his wife right there, helpless, man, you know what I'm saying? Just like, I'm like, you know what I'm saying, like, they went nothing they could do, and then on top of that, you fit them in the back of the police car after you did. The daughter and the brother in the back of the police car. You know what I'm saying? Telling them as if they overreacting. And you just got this man slumped over where his feet fell over. You're like, the man ain't shot blood, he ain't dead. That's who in this shoot where they feet fell over. Like, make you know what I'm saying? Like it, man.
Right. Make it make sense. And for that reason, as we were discussing the other day, I believe that you said that once that happened, that's what drove you into the truth.
Most of our come cars, it opened up the door for me to search for the truth, search for the cars.
You know, it's unfortunate that a brother had to die, but yes, his life was taken. And then today we have Makulat here with us because of the plight of one of our brothers. So why Yahweh shy for the fact of the I.S.U.P.K being here to be that sanctuary for Trooper Makulat, understanding the sanctuary, the safe haven is the I.S.U.P.K. So what happened to this brother brought Trooper Makulat here. So when we go back to what happened with young Dolph today, there's going to be someone out there who sees that this brother's life was taken in cold blood, and who knows it might drive him into saying, what do I have to do to survive? How can I survive here in Memphis? Where can I go? We have schools in Tennessee. If I'm not mistaken, we have a school in Memphis.
Right.
There's a safe haven for you there in Memphis. For all of you brothers right now who are looking at the fact that this rapper Young Dolph's life was taken today in cold blood, someone that you look up to, if you don't want that done to you, the I.S.U.P.K has a place for you to go. There's a school in Memphis. The I.S.U.P.K is ready for you to come there so they can teach you how to survive in this hell, so that you don't have to be a victim like Young Dolph. So that you don't have to be a victim like Philando Castile. Because I don't want brothers to have to continue to lose their lives and then that drive brothers to come into the truth. I would love for brothers to come into this truth because they come into the truth. But as I said, powerful trooper, soon to be officer, Lord willing, Makulat, come into this truth after this brother's life was taken. Philando Castile's life was taken by a police officer, and he said he was not guilty, and they found him not guilty. That's the evidence that's being presented from Zechariah 11:5. As I continue, we're going to go back to the night of February 26, 2012. But before I touch on that, do we have any new callers on the phone? All right, I'll continue. Let's go back to the night of February 26, 2012. The killing of Trayvon Martin by a rent-a-cop, George Zimmerman, while walking after buying a drink and a bag of Skittles on his way home. Understand that Zimmerman, who was in pursuit, who hunted the steps of Trayvon Martin, was told not to pursue by the 911 dispatcher, yet he continued to hunt his steps. On July 13th, 2013, after 16 hours of deliberation, George Zimmerman was found not guilty. George Zimmerman was found not guilty. Trayvon Martin, more than likely, will probably still be here had he not chose to go to the store and buy himself some Skittles and walk the path that he walked and get murdered by George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman fired the shot that killed this young brother. And after taking his life, he said not guilty. He was standing his ground. There would be no ground to stand if you would let this man go ahead and walk home. But understand that the justice system here in this country is garbage. They don't believe in the justice system. Because if the justice system were true, George Zimmerman would no longer be here with us. But understand, your time is coming. Go ahead,
If I could, do it so heavy because, like, okay, we can understand about the devil, so you know what I mean, like the police or something that, you know what I mean, get off. You know what I mean, like, unfortunately, I get it, you know what I mean, I get it, you know what I'm saying, it's fair. But like when you got these regular civilians, right, who shoot, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean, like you know what I'm saying, the prosecutor be good at asking questions in the courtroom when a brother is up. Like, why you can't ask questions like, were you a certified lawman at the time of the incident or the person? And if not, then
Salakia, I can't hear you. You know what? If I'm not mistaken with what you're saying, asking the question, were they a certified lawman or an officer of the law? And you know, I'm going to touch on that because what they claimed themselves to be doing was a citizen's arrest. They weren't official law officers of the law, so to speak, but they were taking the law into their own hand. And we're going to understand that the oppressor has made himself the judge and jury. The oppressor has set himself on high so that he can do whatever it is he wants. We're going to get into that. So that's good that you brought that up because we're definitely going to touch on it. But as I continue, when we talk about Trayvon Martin, how this young brother's life was taken, everyone has heard the story 100 or 1,000 times. But once again, Zechariah 11:5 is playing itself out. This book is playing itself out. Officer Napash, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you saying when we started our life, you so-called, they don't even care about their own government because you can walk up to a capitol with rifles and stuff like that. Well, you got one or two of them got killed and some got beat down. But at the same time, we can have a pound of dope or have like a little bag of weed we do 10 years. But at the same time, you got these same folks that ran for the Capitol. They know what I'm saying, doing treason. They run for office right now as we speak, as a senator, stuff like that. Yep, they're posting up their little, the Eagle Gang, I would say Eagle Gang sign, yeah. They post on the Eagle Gang side, the Pride War. That's the same people who have broke the American laws. They don't even care about their laws. They can fight the police. They can run the police. The police ain't gonna shoot them. But hell, we gonna say something, be like, hey man, you gonna stay away from me, you know what I'm saying? You wanna grab her, beat her down, and shoot her dead. You be like, well, when it's slaves, you know what I'm saying, get slaves, man. You know what I'm saying? They ain't guilty, you know, they got rich off us, man.
You're right.
They got down, you know what I'm saying, they got, what? We auctioned the same gun off, what, $100,000 or $200,000?
Right. Think about that.
Hell, but dude Thorne came up in that church, shot 9 black folks, just a couple of skin colors. And he got Ward Burger King, he probably got, well, he probably got like $2 million. He probably sitting in the sale somewhere else, or a halfway house looking way better than Bob. 50% of so-called black, Hispanic, Native Americans.
You're exactly right, Ak. You're exactly right. Excellent point that you're bringing out. Excellent point. And you're right. They don't follow their own law. They do whatever it is that they want. And thinking about that, when you say about how they take a life, they're supposed to be punished for it if you take a life. Well, in a court of law, the way things are set up, they have it where if I'm committing a crime, well, let's say I break into someone's house. If myself and someone else break into a home and the person who lives in that home takes the life of the person that's with me, I will go to jail for murder because it was during the commission of a crime that I was committing with someone else. If someone had to take his life, I would then go to jail for that murder. Although the person who was defending his home is the person who did it. So, case in point, when you talk about how they stormed the Capitol building, that officer who had to take the life of that woman who tried to come into that room, he took her life. So guess what? By law, every single person who broke into the Capitol building and stormed the Capitol building in order to steal the ballot box, every one of them should have been prosecuted for the murder of that woman whose life was taken by that officer. That's the law that they set up. But did that happen? No. So understand, as I say to you that we are at war, and that the law system, the justice system that America has set up is an absolute joke. They only apply it to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. They apply it to us. They don't apply it to their own. They bend it and break those rules every single day so that they can incarcerate us, so that they can hide us in the prison houses. But when it comes to what they do, they hold themselves what? Not guilty. So as I continue, we're going to look at the facts and the evidence that support Zechariah 11:5, and we're going to go to the night of May 2015. I don't have the exact date, but I do know May 2015, a 37-year-old male was found guilty for attempted second-degree murder. Now, I want you to pay attention to me. May 2015, a 37-year-old male was found guilty for attempted second-degree murder, meaning he didn't kill the person, he attempted to do it. The other charge was aggravated assault for shooting into a car. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison. So the charge was aggravated assault and attempted second-degree murder for shooting into a car that someone was in. He did not hit the person. He was given 20 years. He claimed it was in self-defense because the person he was shooting at pulled a gun on him. Does anyone in the call know who that person was? Probably not. I'll tell you. The person who this man was shooting at was George Zimmerman. Someone pulled their gun and fired at George Zimmerman because George Zimmerman pulled his firearm while he was in his car, and this man shot in the vehicle, did not hit him, but got charged with attempted second-degree murder and aggravated assault, and he was given 20 years and no life was taken. George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin in cold blood and was found not guilty. Understand, Zechariah 11:5 is playing itself out in front of you every day, every year. The prophecies in this book are coming to fruition every day. You're seeing it. You know that this book is the truth. It's about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, and you're seeing what it's doing every single day. But if that isn't enough for you, we're going to continue, and we're going to go to the night of March 13th, 2020. And that's the killing of 26-year-old Breonna Taylor. Now, these names that I'm bringing up to you, you're saying to yourself, you've heard all these things before, but they still ring true today because these people were murdered in cold blood. 26-year-old Breonna Taylor was shot down in her sleep by multiple police officers, and they were charged with wanton endangerment, 3 counts. Now, this is some of the most ridiculous garbage I've ever heard in my life. Wanton endangerment, W-A-N-T-O-N. Is the spelling of that word, wanton endangerment. 3 counts of it. Wanton endangerment is a person is guilty of wanton endangerment in first degree when, under circumstances manifesting extreme indifferences to the value of human life, wantonly engages in in conduct which creates a substantial danger or death or serious physical injury to another person. So when you think about this one-time endangerment, the officers were charged with, when they shot, it went into another apartment. It went into another room where other people could have been endangered. We're not talking about Breonna Taylor, who actually was hit by the bullet and died, who was murdered in her sleep. You tell me that we aren't having our steps hunted and this woman was in her bed sleep? Well, they were found not guilty of the death. And basically the trial had been delayed until 2020. Well, they're saying the charges haven't been brought against them, but the trial has been delayed until 2020. So they have said not guilty. Once again, how is her life taken if there is no one responsible for taking her life? If there is no one responsible for it, then who's guilty? The bullets didn't just hit her. She didn't just die on her own. She didn't shoot herself. The gun didn't discharge itself. Yet they say not guilty. So when we're looking at Zechariah 11:5, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, we understand that it's our oppressor because he's been doing it. He's been taking our life and holding himself not guilty. We're going to once again continue to look at the facts that support Zechariah 11:5, and we're going to go to the night of June 12th, 2020. And you're going to see where I'm going with this as I culminate this into Ahmaud Aubrey. But right here, on the night of June 12, 2020, Rayshard Brooks, who was murdered by an Atlanta police officer in the Wendy's parking lot for falling asleep in the drive-thru. The charge on the officer is felony murder and aggravated assault. This officer who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks was then reinstated. So he lost his job, he was fired, but then he was reinstated, meaning he was given his job back so he could be put on administrative leave. When you put someone on administrative leave, that means they come, they get their job, they get sent home, and they get a paycheck. They still get their salary while an investigation is being taking place. So while he is waiting for the investigation to be completed, to decide if charges will be pressed against him, he is getting paid in the process. He is said not guilty, and he's being paid for it. Zechariah 11:5, once again, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. This is your court system. This is how your court system is set up. Don't you know, if one of you brothers are on the phone, or any of you that are watching this class right now, Officer Barack or myself, were to take the life of anyone, especially an oppressor, there wouldn't be any trial of waiting to see if all the evidence points to what we did. It would be done swiftly. Surely we would be locked up quickly. Right. Tax money wouldn't be spent for dragging it out for a year to see just in case. They wouldn't say, well, we're going to let Kassiad sit home while we investigate. We're going to let him continue to work his job and live his life while we investigate whether or not he killed this oppressor. Understand that hold your peace for a second. Understand that the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. He will be from now until the day he dies. Go ahead, bring it out.
Hey, it's like they like these folks, they don't need to get held without bond. Like, they don't need to be had to sit down and say they trial and none of that. They just be out here playing golf serious and
You're right. And let me tell you, they may get a bond, and let's just say their bond's $100,000. You got to pay 10% of that, which is $10,000. That bond is paid quickly. That bond is paid before the cuff comes off his wrist, so to speak. For example, and I said I wasn't going to touch on this brother's name. Matter of fact, I'm not going to say his name. But the brother who was up there in Wisconsin, or not the brother, Salakia, the devil who's up there in Wisconsin who took those lives, understand that they came together with a group of people to, what is that stuff called on Facebook where they're getting money for you?
GoFundMe?
A GoFundMe. Khan, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's like, I was going to say GoFundMe.
Right. They get this GoFundMe to say, well, we got to get him out of jail. And boom, the money's there. Immediately they come together and they get him out. Your oppressor don't spend no time locked up, especially when he's done something to one of us. Go ahead, Ahmaud.
Yeah, because you know they sold somebody put George Zimmerman gun and killed Trayvon Martin. They sold for about $500,000.
Right.
But speaking on that Atlanta situation, you know, he got reinstated in the police, the force, and that's what led to the mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms resigning, because after they reinstated him, it made her look like she made it. They tried to some kind of charge against her, like political charge.
Right.
Like she fired them off of emotions.
Right.
Instead of just sitting back or whatever. So that's part of her stepping down also.
Absolutely. You know what? It's heavy that you brought that out, Ahmaud, because we're going to touch on the state of crime that is happening here in Atlanta and this mayoral race and understanding why we're not supposed to vote. So I'm going to go into that as well. Excellent point that you brought out there. So as I continue, and we're understanding the evidence that's being presented to back up. Go ahead, Azariah.
Kind of a concept for a while. I really have your point. You know what? An actor, they're not only they raise money on the GoFundMe, a famous actor put $2 million of his own money. You know what I mean? That's how much brotherhood these devils have. We over here got, people putting $2 million for diamonds in the middle of the damn forehead and $100,000 chain that you just mentioned, and just doing dumb stuff. Our people are separating and losing our money for foolishness, and these two devils put the money together to support, the devil's supremacy.
Absolutely. They don't know what brotherhood is, but they operate in it, especially if it means that they're going to get one of their own freed from taking the life of one of us. You're absolutely right. And unfortunately, yes, we spend our money on getting diamonds in our forehead. We spend our money on getting 50-inch rims. We spend our money on getting things that mean nothing. But when it comes to defending our people or raising the bond money to get one of us out, you got to call 35 people just to get half the money. So we're going to understand tonight that our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. We're definitely going to understand that. We're going to understand that he's a liar and he's the father of it. Mashallah. If you are there, get me a book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. The book of John, chapter 8, verse 44, because you understand that he's a liar. The whole time that you've been going to court, he's been going to court, that's all he has done is he's lied. He is definitely a deceiver. That's what the devil is. If you get that out, if you have that out, go ahead and read.
God, sir. The book of John, chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it.
Now, that verse right there, we can't break that down enough. I mean, I could go all the way back to when Officer Yahanna was bringing that out about that homosexual, what is his name? What's that homosexual's name who said he was pregnant? I can't think. Oh, Lil Nas X. And how Yahanna broke down John 8 and 44. Your oppressor, he is the liar that the Bible speaks of. He's the devil that the Bible speaks of. And when we look at that verse, and it says how the truth is not in him, it isn't. He is the father of it. He shows it every time he puts his hand on that Bible and he swears that oath. So we're going to continue to read. It says, before anyone who is about to be cross-examined, you're going to find out that the oppressor lies every time. Because what he has to do is he has to stand before the judge, he has to put his hand on a Bible, and he has to swear an oath. It says before they take the seat in front of the judge, they have to I guess they have to be sworn in, so to speak. Now these are officers of the law. It says here, they repeat after the bailiff, after placing their hand on the Bible, and they say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. That is what your oppressor says before he is about to get up there and say, I'm not guilty, every time they kill one of us. That he swears to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. He puts his hand on the Bible, and that's what he says. He's swearing that oath. Now, we're going to get into that. It says they are now considered to be under oath, which means they have been sworn to tell the truth, especially in a court of law. So I'm breaking this down to you in how a court setting is. Go ahead.
Come on, Kasalaki, sir, but I may real quick. It's so heavy what you're saying, you know, and the judge in the Rittenhouse case, you know, he said you can't even call the victims victims. And those who have been convicted of writing, you can call them writers. Right? So this purpose is so much on code that, you know what I mean, they can't call it the guy who got shot in the head a victim. But for us, you know, in the Amber Geiger case, the judge, you can't even call the murderer a murderer. You know what I mean? You can shot the door in his house. Well, instead of that, you got to call him a husky. They got to hug him. You call him Terry, call him over here. The person is devil, so it's right.
Indeed. Indeed. They can't call the victims victims. Because why? That right there would make the person who is on trial look a certain type of way. But they're trying to keep his good name. Understand? They're trying to keep his good name. So they don't want to sully it with the obvious thing that he has done. So understand that when they're under oath, which means they have been sworn to tell the truth, especially in the court of law, that in itself is going against what the Bible actually says. If you would, Baba Kashah, Trooper Maishala, give me the book of James, chapter 5, verse 12. The book of James, chapter 5, verse 12. We're going to prove to you that their justice system is a joke, in that they don't follow their own, not only do they not follow their law, they don't understand what they are doing when they put their hand on that Bible and swear upon it. Once you have that, go ahead and read it.
The book of James, chapter 5 and verse 12. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by the earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay, lest ye fall into condemnation.
Now, as I just said to you, it says that they are under oath, which means they have been sworn to tell the truth, especially in a court of law. So once they put their hand on that Bible, that's them keeping an oath. But the Bible here in James 5 and 12 just said, read that one more time for me, what it says in James 5 and 12.
Lucky, I don't want you breaking up.
If you would read that for me in James 5 and 12 one more time.
I'm the book of James, chapter 5 and verse 12. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by the earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your nay be, and your nay nay, lest ye fall into condemnation.
There you go. Not by anything, not by heaven, not by earth, none of those things. So basically what it's saying is, you know, when people say, especially with brothers, like when they get caught, man, I swear before God, I swear on everything I love. I swear on my mama. I swear on everything. I swear on my life.
On God.
I swear on God. Everything is on God. That's what they do. They're swearing on God. And that kills me. I swear before God. I swear on my mama. That's what they're doing. You learn that from your oppressor. Because there used to be a time when if you said something like that, people actually was like, oh, wow, well, you know, he swore before God, and he definitely didn't do it. That's a joke. That's a joke, and it's a lie. It's a lie from your oppressor, and that's who you learn that from. Because it's letting you know right now that when he puts his hand on that Bible and he takes that oath, that actually he's not supposed to be doing it. It's almost the same thing as having your fingers crossed when someone asks you to do something and you cross your fingers because crossing your fingers makes it null and void. Basically, when they put their hand on that Bible, although the scripture says not to swear an oath, they know it says that. But when they put their hand on it, it's like, well, really, we're not supposed to be doing this anyway, so we can break this oath. The oppressor is a goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of. He has come up with every slick Tom and Jerry trick that you can come up with. He's thought of it all. There's nothing that this devil hasn't done. Nothing. So as I continue, as you see what they have done, let's back it up some more. Give me Matthew 5 and 34, Bob Kashah. The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 34. Just to bring it on home with that oath in what they're doing. Read that when you have it.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5, and verse 34. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne.
I mean, there you go. Swear not at all, neither by heaven. But what do? They swear. They swear to God. This is your court system. This is their law system. Understand, the law, statutes, and commandments were given to us, not to your oppressor. That's why they make a mockery of it. That's why they do the opposite of what it is that you're supposed to do. Now, we're going to continue. Every time an officer of the law puts his hands on the Bible, he 100% is going to lie. I'll say it again. Every time he puts his hands on that Bible to swear before he sits down and he has to be cross-examined, 100% of the time he's going to lie. Every time your oppressor is sitting there saying that he didn't do it or that this wasn't what happened, he's lying. If it be your oppressor that's in law enforcement or if it be a civilian. And when I say civilian, I'm once again leading back to what happened with Ahmaud Aubrey. Remember Zechariah 11 and 5. Remember that you're not supposed to be making any oaths. Remember that they are the father of lies. Case in point, the day of February 23rd, 2020, the cold-blooded murder of young 25-year-old Ahmaud Aubrey. I've gone through all these just to bring you to this point right here, to show you where their law system is a joke, to show you that Ahmaud Aubrey had to go to war, unfortunately lost that battle with these three devils, understanding that the justice system has nothing to do for us and it can do nothing for us because it is not ours. He was murdered by three devils and all three pled not guilty. The entire lynching of this brother was recorded and we all saw it. We all saw that brother was murdered. So if we go back to what the scripture says in Zechariah 11 and 5 is that who's possessed to slay them and hold themselves not guilty. That's what these three devils did. They murdered him in cold blood and said they weren't guilty. What were they doing when they said they weren't guilty? They were lying, which is supported by John 8:44, letting you know that they're the father of lies and that the truth is not in them. So as I continue to prove to you more that America's judicial system is a joke and full of lies, still staying within the parameters of this case, former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson has been indicted on charges of violating her oath as a public officer and obstructing a police officer, meaning she interfered with the arrest. Jackie Johnson was the person who would have been the prosecutor in this case. She wanted to interfere with it, I guess, obviously to give these devils a fighting chance. So think about that. That was what their goal was to do. And this woman right here is the district attorney. So understand this, if the district attorney is corrupt, that would by nature make you think they would need to go back and look at all of her cases. Because if she did this right here, this wouldn't have been the first time. But it also proves the point that the justice system is not for us. It is for those bastards. It's for those devils, the white man the Bible speaks of. The devil is the white man that the Bible speaks of. So when we look at that, we understand that the law was not given to the oppressor. It's impossible for them to be fair and to be just because they can't operate in righteousness. The oppressor cannot operate in righteousness, so therefore he's not going to be fair. He's always going to lie because it has nothing to do with us. It's about him. If you would, Trooper Mike Charlotte, give me the book of Psalms 147 verses 19 to 20. 147, 19 to 20. Read it when you got it.
The book of Psalms, chapter 147, and verse 19. He sheweth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. Verse 20. He has not dealt so with any nation, and as for judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
Now, as for his judgment, they have not known them. His laws and statutes and commandments were given unto us, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's who the law, statutes, and commandments were given to. So if we understand that the law, statutes, and commandments were given to us, what makes your oppressor think, or what makes us think that the oppressor has the ability to conduct in fairness, to be just? Now, in order to understand what I'm talking about, you would have to know, number one, that you're Israel. You'd have to know, number one, that you're supposed to be following the law, statutes, and commandments. You have to know, number two, that the oppressor was not giving the law, statutes, and commandments. If you know those things, you know that there's no way that he's going to try you and be fair. Case in point, there's 12 jurors. Of the 12 jurors, 11 of them are oppressors. 11 of them are devils. One of them is Judah. One of them is an Israelite. Now understand, in the UPK, hear me closely, everyone that is on the phone and everyone that is watching. In the UPK, we don't do jury duty. And the reason why we don't do jury duty, number one, you can't keep integrity, once again, by being a part of the oppressor's judicial system. And I want to bring a point out about a powerful brother by the name of Yahanna. This brother got summoned, or got sent a subpoena, if you will, to do jury duty. You know, everyone throughout their living at some point may get that. They may be selected to do it if they don't have any felonies. Well, he was sent this maybe a month or two ago to do jury duty. Well, of course, you know, he spoke with Captain Rataziah and was given the instructions on how to move for that, because I understand that we aren't supposed to do jury duty. So he went in full garment. He went in his glorious warlike apparel to the courthouse where he lives. He just did this last week. He went to the courthouse being a priest and prophet of the I.S.U.P.K. with his border of blue. And we understand that border of blue represents what? It represents the law. This brother went into that courthouse, and of course, all the heads were turning, and they were looking at him, wondering, well, who is this and what is all that about? So, you know, when you go for jury duty, they'll have you come in, then they'll have you sit. Once you sit, the DA and the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney will ask questions of all the jurors to see which one they want to pick out of their lineup, so to speak. Well, once they saw him, they didn't even have to start asking questions to everyone else. They immediately went to Yahanna and said, excuse me, what's your name? And Yahanna said, well, my slave name is Ryan Thomas, but my Hebrew name is Yahanna. Yahweh Shai. That's powerful. This brother stood up tall in that courthouse and told them that. And he said, oh, okay, well, come up here for a second. And they handed him a piece of paper. And on this piece of paper, it had some questions that he had to answer. And immediately one of the questions was, well, why are you not able to attend or participate in this court proceeding? So he answered the question. Mind you now, normally when you come in, everyone sits down and then they'll start questioning. They skipped all that and went straight to him and had him come up there. His response was, I will not participate in, this is paraphrasing, and I hope that I don't massacre this, but I would not participate in anything any legal actions that go against blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. That's what that brother's answer was. Gave him the paper back. Salakia. Once the woman looked at this paper, she read it and said to herself, oh, okay, well, that pretty much sums it up. And they said, well, here, let's go ahead and cut him his check and go ahead and let him go. Just like that. They cut him his check, told him he could basically get the hell out of there. Salakia, that he could leave. That's what they said. Now, think about that. This was an officer in the I.S.U.P.K. This was an officer, a true officer of the law. Yakazak Allah, who walked in there in his apparel, looking glorious, looking strong, looking mighty as the men do in the I.S.U.P.K. He walked into this courthouse and they turned away the law. Now, he didn't want to be a part of it anyway, but think about what I'm saying to you. They turned away the actual law. They were in the presence of the law. They were in the midst of the only light that many of them will ever see. He was standing before them. And their justice system said, well, hey, let's go ahead and get him out of here. He did what he was supposed to do. He knew that, hey, I'm not going to, no matter what it is, if he's black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, I'm not going against my brother. I'm not going against my sister. So there's no need for me to be here. And they sent him on his way. Because we know that this justice system here in America is a joke. We know that this justice system here in America has nothing to do with us. Just like the voting system has nothing to do with us. And you're going to understand why I'm saying that about the voting. Proving what I'm talking about to you with our oppressor and the things that he does. And like I said, one more time, with Yakazak Allah, I have to give this brother a hand for that because it was powerful. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It was powerful what he did. I'm proud of him for going in there and being strong and standing up like he did, the way he did for the I.S.U.P.K. and for whomever the brother or sister was. It's probably going to get railroaded by this garbage system that we have, as we call our judicial system. Right now, when we look at our oppressor and we look at the things that are going on, we understand that he has ruled over us with an iron rod of lies. And what we have done is we have continued to mourn because our oppressor has ruled over us with his unfair justice system. If you would, Trooper Mashallah, get me Proverbs 29:2. The book of Proverbs 29:2. Baba Kashah.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn.
Read that one more time for me, Baba Kashah.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn.
When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the I.S.U.P.K. is in authority, the people will rejoice. When we, being the righteous, are in authority, the people will rejoice because we will be just, we will be fair, because the law, statutes, and commandments were given to us and we operate in those. But until then, the oppressor, who is the wicked, the people will mourn. Right now, Ahmaud Aubrey's family is in mourning because the wicked are ruling over his son. Ahmaud Aubrey's family is in mourning, not only just for his death, but in the waiting of some semblance of justice, in the ruling over his son. The wicked, unfortunately, are the judge and jury over their son. Hold on just a second, hold your peace. These three devils who took his life, judged him, and executed him. They judged this brother and executed him because they put themselves in a place that they feel that they can destroy. They feel that they can justifiably take a life, no matter what it is that we do. they can justify what it is that they do. If you would, Trooper Mashallah, give me the book of James, chapter 4 and 12. James 4 and 12. These three devils. Go ahead.
The book of James, chapter 4, verse 12. There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judgest another?
There's one lawgiver. Your oppressor thinks that is him. Your oppressor thinks himself to be that lawgiver who can save and who can destroy. But the thing about it is, what he does is he only destroys the oppressed. He only destroys Israel. But he saves himself. He saves his fellow devils. But understand, his time is coming. His time is coming. The oppressor has made himself to be God. That's why he holds himself not guilty of every crime he commits. He has put himself on this pedestal. Give me Obadiah 1 and 4. Baba Kashah. The book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 4.
The book of Obadiah, chapter 1 and verse 4. Those thou exalt themselves as the eagles, and those thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
They exalt themselves. They put themselves on high. They make themselves gods. They put themselves on a pedestal. That's what your oppressor does. That's why he holds himself not guilty. That's why he can lie and it means nothing. That's why he can swear on the Bible and it means nothing. That's why he goes against everything that he actually believes in, because he's made himself his own God. He can break all of his own rules, especially when it comes to destroying Israel, especially when it comes to making sure that the name of Israel is no more. But understand, your time is coming, oppressor. Your time is coming. I want you to remember the title of the class, the very first part of the class. The first part of the title is We Are at War. We are at war. Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man. And the only way that you can survive that war, once again, is following these laws, statutes, and commandments. Understanding that if you don't do this, your life is in grave danger. Following these laws, statutes, and commandments is life and death. And if you aren't following the laws, statutes, and commandments, black man, Hispanic man, or Native Indian man, not only do you not know we're at war, you're losing the war. That's why we have Alton Sterling, Tamir Rice, Jamarian Robinson, who was shot 76 times. That's why we have Ahmaud Aubrey, whose steps were literally hunted by 3 goddamn devils as he jogged. Understand that. That's why we have these brothers whose lives have been taken. Give me Lamentations 4 and 18, Baba Kashah. Lamentations 4 and 18. Read it when you have it.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 4 and verse 18. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come.
Understand that everything that is being brought out tonight is coming straight from the Bible. These aren't my words. It's from this book. The only place where you will find the truth in this book. And here in the I.S.U.P.K, it's the only place where you will find men who have been ordained to teach the truth that is in this book. And if you're paying attention tonight, you're seeing that I'm using precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, to prove the point, the case in point of Zechariah 11:5. We're going to hold the oppressor guilty for all the crimes that he has committed against our brothers. And he is going to be found guilty. Not only is he found guilty, he is guilty of everything that we have said that he has done. This book proves it. We have been proving it here in the I.S.U.P.K since 1969. That the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. It is being proved to you over and over and over again. They hunted the steps and waited for the right moment to strike. Ahmaud Aubrey. He wasn't safe in the street to jog. This brother couldn't jog. Breonna Taylor wasn't safe in the bed while she was sleeping. Philando Castile wasn't safe as the passenger in the car with his rib. Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old child, wasn't safe on the playground because they hunt our steps. We are at war, Israel. Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. And when I say black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, I'm also talking to my sisters. You aren't being excluded from this. Your lives hang in the balance, meaning you have no certainty or no peace of mind that your life won't be taken. That is why your mothers and your fathers are afraid for you to go outside. They're afraid for you to do anything because they feel like your life can be taken. They tell you, well, son, this is what you do when you're pulled over. Make sure you're attending to, keep your hands on the steering wheel. Make sure that you speak with respect. Make sure that you don't look aggressive. Make sure that you don't look them straight in the eye. Make sure that you answer and comply with all the questions that they ask. We have to be taught those things in order to survive because of the fear that our lives will be taken. Understand that that's in the curses. Understand that tonight is the law class, and the curses of disobedience are the reasons why we're being gunned down in the street by our oppressor. We are at war, Israel. You have to understand that. If you would, Trooper Mashallah, give me the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and 66. Once again, I'm going to give you precepts. I'm going to show you where the Bible is telling you why you're thinking the way you think. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 66. Please, Baba Bashar.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
Now, understand. Hold that point right there. I'm going to get you to read that again in a second. The scripture is letting us know that we are going to be in fear of our lives. That this is going to be something that is on us day and night. I'm sure that some of you have heard a brother say, man, I'm not going to make it until I'm 25. I'm not going to make it until I'm 30. Because they think that either because of the way that they're living their life, or those who have lived their life before them, be their fathers or their uncles, or those that are next to them whose lives have been taken at a young age. They fear that their life it's expendable. They fear that their life is nothing. But not only will it be taken by one of their own, but we understand that from those who lurk and sit in those hiding places, your oppressor who watches us in the villages, meaning your ghettos, meaning in your hoods, meaning in your suburbs, they watch you. They wait for the time to kill you, to murder the innocent. That's why your life hangs in a balance. That's why Deuteronomy 28:66 is so true. Read that for me again, Bob Kashab.
Book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life.
None assurance of thy life. You'll fear day and night. The only place where you can have assurance, the only place where you don't have to fear, is right here in the I.S.U.P.K, under Commanding General Yahanna. Right here is that home, that sanctuary, that place of safety that you can come to. Right here is that place of refuge that you can come to. Outside of this, there is no safety. Outside of this, you will fear for your life. in the I.S.U.P.K, there's no fear amongst these men. I can tell you for a fact for myself, in the world I operated a certain type of way. I knew that I was a man that I could handle myself, but there still was a fear of my life being taken. Here in the I.S.U.P.K, I don't think like that. There's nothing that I fear, no man that I fear, because I follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. I know that if my life is taken, guess what? I'll be back. I know that I'm a priest and prophet, ordained of the Most High to come and tell you this truth. I know that I will be back. I know that I have brothers out there who will war with me, who war right next to me. Whether it be bringing out this truth or whether it has to be physical. There's no reason for us to fear here in the I.S.U.P.K because we are following the laws, statutes, and commandments. Now you have in Memphis right now, a lot of brothers are in fear because, oh no, young Dolph was murdered. And I'm not making light of this brother's murder. What I'm saying is that there are people that are in fear, there are people that are in mourning right now. Because if they can take out young Dolph, then they can do anything to any of us. That's the thought process. There was no protection there. There's no angels there protecting young Dolph. Here in the I.S.U.P.K, oh yes, these officers are protected. We have angels around us. There's no reason to fear here in the I.S.U.P.K. But I want you to understand, your life doesn't have to hang in the balance. Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. In the times we're living in, where the police can shoot you dead and be put on administrative leave, where three devils can shoot you down in the middle of the street in broad daylight and claim it was a citizen's arrest, and when he dies, hold themselves not guilty. My question to you on the phone, and those of you that are watching, are we at war? I would say that it's safe to say that we are at war. We have been at war. In the I.S.U.P.K, we know who our enemy is. The reason why you keep getting attacked is because you're sleeping with the enemy, literally and figuratively. You're surrounded by your enemy, and you don't know he's your enemy. So he can take aim whenever he wants. It's a sure shot. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. But we know who our enemy are. We know who the enemy is. Ahmaud Aubrey, unfortunately, didn't know who the enemy was until he was in it. Unfortunately, until it was too late. Your oppressor knows that we are at war. That's why, like an animal, he waits and he watches for the time to strike. That's what those three devils did in their pickup trucks with Ahmaud Aubrey. They watched and they waited for their time to strike, just like an animal does. When an animal is hunting, it's quiet, it's stealthy. It pursues and then it pounces on its prey, is what it does. Give me 1 Peter 5 and 8, Baba Kashab. 1 Peter 5 and 8.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
Read that for me one more time, Baba Kashab.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
Your adversary, the devil. Who on the phone, and I need some participation, who on the phone can tell me the definition of adversary? Go ahead.
Enemy.
You're right. Your adversary is your enemy. So when it's saying here that, matter of fact, I didn't recognize that voice. Who was that?
Yeah, how are you there?
Okay, I didn't recognize your voice. Okay, but that's right. Your adversary is your enemy. Searching for whom? The devil, your adversary. So it's telling you the devil, and we know who the devil is. The devil is the oppressor. And he is your enemy. Just like when the scripture says, I will send you to a land not your own, where you will be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no one shall save you. The bondmen and bondwomen, let me expound on that, let you know that's slave man and slave woman, and that no one will be able to save you. No Martin Luther King, nobody will be able to save you. But it tells you in the beginning of it, the key thing it says, where you be sold unto your enemy. Now, case in point, going back to 1 Peter 5 and 8. Your adversary, the devil. So your adversary is the enemy, and it's the devil, your oppressor. Searching for someone to devour, but it's telling you to be sober. Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, you have to be of a clear mind. You have to be alert. You have to pay attention. You have to be sober in this time that we're living in. You have to be sober at all times. Now, understand what I'm saying is not telling you not that you can't drink, but what I'm telling you is don't be a drunkard. But I'm definitely telling you not to smoke weed, not to do any type of drugs, because you aren't being sober. Me, myself, I'm the type of brother who I like to be of a sober mind. I pay attention. That's just how I am. I watch because I understand the world that we live in. I've been like that since I was young. I've always paid attention. I've listened, I've watched, and I've survived. I'm here now and I'm 46 years old. I made it because I paid attention, because I watched. But the Most High, obviously, has me here. Has me here for a reason. And when it says to be vigilant, let me go ahead and pull that up real quick, because when it says to be vigilant, that's going to go into the heading of the class, title. I'm going to give you the vigilant definition here. It says, vigilant, keeping careful watch for possible danger or difficulties. Keeping careful watch for possible dangers or difficulties. In the I.S.U.P.K, when we are on Shamar, what are we doing? We're keeping careful watch for possible difficulties or dangers. But we are on Shamar 24/7. We're always on Shamar. There's never a time when we aren't paying attention. There's never a time when we aren't being sober-minded. There's never a time when we aren't being vigilant. We are always watching, being prepared, being ready for what may happen, because we know that our oppressor, the devil, is searching. We know that he's looking for someone to devour, someone to eat, someone to kill. We know that that's what he's doing. But guess what? Unfortunately for Ahmaud Aubrey, he didn't know he was at war until it was too late. But I will say this, the brother did fight. He did try to fight. But he couldn't stop those bullets. He couldn't stop that shotgun to his chest. Unfortunately, he lost that battle. Like many other brothers lost their lives on their doorsteps. Many other brothers and sisters that lost their lives on their doorsteps. Many other brothers and sisters who lost their lives in the middle of the street at the hands of the oppressor. And I'm going to take you back, way back, to November 21st, 2006. The sister Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson, a 92-year-old woman. Mind you, these things that I'm ending the class with Rashad Brooks, with Ahmaud Aubrey, with Katherine Johnson, that happened right here in Atlanta. As I lead into what I'm talking about all the things that have happened here in Atlanta over the course of from 2000 to 2021, 21 years, you're going to see why voting for whomever you want to be a mayor, it doesn't matter. Katherine Johnson, on November 21st, 2006, was killed by undercover police officers in a botched drug raid with a no-knock warrant. Some of you may remember this. She was 92 years old. During a botched drug raid with a no-knock warrant, they shot at her 39 times. They didn't hit her all 39 times, but they shot at her 39 times. And the woman was 92 years old. They lied, planted evidence on this woman. So when they lied and they planted evidence, what did they do? They tried to sully her name. Going back to Officer Dar Ahmaud's class last night. A good name and a bad name. Well, what your oppressor did was he tried to attach something to a 92-year-old woman to say that, oh, there was cocaine, there was drugs in this woman's house. 92 years old. They wanted it to be a justifiable homicide. Your oppressor is a goddamn liar. Your oppressor is a goddamn devil. He is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Devil is a deceiver. And that is what the white man has done forever. He is deceived. He has deceived the whole world. But here in the I.S.U.P.K, we know who he is. We have unmasked you. We know who you are. And just like what's that show, Scooby-Doo. Well, we would have gotten away for it if it weren't for that pesky I.S.U.P.K. Well, guess what? We here. We here to let you know what it is. We here to let you know the truth. Katherine Johnson was 92 years old, and he shot and killed her. 92. Give me Deuteronomy 28 and 50. Deuteronomy 28 and 50. This is the reason why I'm bringing out the people that I brought out tonight to back up Zechariah 11 and 5. But I'm going to touch on a couple other things. Deuteronomy 28 and 50, Baba Kashad.
Now, God, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the persons of the old, nor shew favoring to the young.
They won't regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. They didn't regard the fact that Katherine Johnson was 92 years old. That was old. They didn't show favor to the young of Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old. They didn't show favor or regard the old of Ahmaud Aubrey, who was in between that stage of an old person and a young person. I mean, he was 25. He was basically he was a young man. He was a child. He was 25 years old. They didn't show favor to the young. They didn't have any regard for the old. Not for Katherine Johnson, not for Tamir Rice, and now here we are looking at Ahmaud Aubrey. Your oppressor has done a work that is beyond imagining when it comes to what he has done to destroy Israel. But understand that the nation's justice system won't save you. We've looked at all these crimes over the course of 20 years. Several of those that I talked about right here in Atlanta. And understanding that the crime here in Atlanta is on high. In 2020, Atlanta was Atlanta's deadliest year in decades. And homicides are up 60% in 2021 here in Atlanta. And because of the death rate, because of the murders, they have to always place the blame on someone. So we're going to say, hey, blame it on the mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. It's one sister's problem. It's one sister's fault that all these people are dying. It's easy to say we're going to place the blame, but what about the responsibility of what it is? It's because they have no idea of what the law, statutes, and commandments are. They have no idea of what brotherhood is the reason why they can say we're going to blame this sister. And it could have been any mayor in there, brother or sister. They want to blame one person. But you're going to find out that voting for them does nothing. You had Kasim Reed in there before her. Before Kasim Reed, you had Mayor Franklin. Right now, you have this sister who's about to move out, and there's another one who's about to move in, more than likely. I can't think of her name, but they're thinking that the problem or the issues can be solved by who they vote into office. You think that voting in a new mayor is going to change the things that have been happening right here in the city of Atlanta. Give me Lamentations chapter 4, verse 17. Lamentations 4 and 17, Baba Kashad. We're about to wrap the class up. Lamentations 4 and 17.
The book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 17. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us.
We have watched for a nation that cannot save us. We have voted for people and put them in office who could not save us. We have voted people into this justice system that cannot save us because it's not for us. Right now, Ahmaud Aubrey's family is watching and waiting and hoping that they will get justice for their son. They're watching and waiting for someone who cannot save them. They're watching and waiting for someone who can't give them justice. Ahmaud Aubrey's life was taken by these three devils, and now they have to wait, hoping that the 12 jurors, 11 being white and 1 being black, will come back with a guilty verdict. But that won't be justice. They can come back and say guilty. That won't be justice. Trooper Marsha, I want you to get me Psalms 137 and 9. And I want you to read it like you mean it. Psalms 137 and 9, Baba Kashad. I'm going to show you what justice is. According to the Bible.
The book of Psalms, chapter 137, and verse 9. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes thy little one against the stone.
Read it again.
Oh God. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes thy little one against the stone.
Understand, oppressor, that your time is coming. For you, for your children, for your mama, your daddy, your grandmammy, your granddaddy, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, for every one of you, even your dog, your pets. Go ahead.
I'll read that verse again, but read it with how we adopt spin on it.
I want you to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Most High in Christ.
Most High in Christ. Yahweh Shai. Go ahead.
So, God, the book of Psalms. Happy shall he be that taketh and dashes the blonde-haired, blue-eyed bastard against the stone.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Let's give this truth that we are bringing out, this truth that we're learning, a hand. Let's give that truth a hand. Absolutely. 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 And we won't stop there with justice. Give me Isaiah 14 and 21. Baba Kashad. Isaiah 14 and 21.
From God, the book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not ride, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
Understand this, oppressor. Understand this, these three devils that took the life of Ahmaud Aubrey. Understand this to all the oppressors that have taken the lives of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians who are supposed to be officers of the law. Understand this verse. Just like we read Psalms 137 and 9, I want you to understand this verse one more time. Hear this verse one more time. Give me Isaiah 14 and 21 again.
Now, God, the book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquities of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
Understand, oppressor, that your time is coming. That is justice that is going to come to you. This is inevitable. The things that you have been doing to us, it will be placed upon your head. It will come right back to you. You are going to pay for the things that you have done for the children of Israel. And understand that we pray that these things are done. We pray it every single Sabbath. So before I end the class, I'm going to end it with the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verses 1 through 18. I'm going to read that. A song of Psalms of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy hidden people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and Ishmaelites, the Ishmaelites, Salakia, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, as to the brook of Kisan, which perished at Endor. They become as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Arab, and like Zeb, yea, all their princes, and Zabah, and Zamuna, who said, let us take to ourselves the house of God in possession. O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. Understand that right there is the prayer that we read every Saturday, every Sabbath. We're praying for the destruction of our oppressors, for the things that they have done to us, and that destruction is going to come. And with that, I'm going to hand the class over to powerful priest and prophet, Barak Yahweh.
Priest and prophet in hand. Excellent class. Name Officer Barak Yahweh. We'll do the I.S.U.P.K. Atlanta security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, comes out of number 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10. Ma'ashara means attempt in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Upcoming Holy Convocations, November 28th, Feast of Dedications. It's a feast of Hanukkah for 8 days. Reminder, any brothers, any ox want to come and join the school to be a trooper, to come and start wearing all black, showing up for camp, and boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf, and get with your camp leader as far as officers, find out our location where we're going to be. With that, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the priest and prophet, Ahmaud, men of Israel, Ahmaud Shabbat, Ahmaud Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barak Atah.
Yahweh Shem Yahweh Barak Atah.
Class dismissed.